All right, welcome back to part 5 of Silly Conspiracy Theories with the Sausage Boys, Jackson and Karim.
Yes, and do you think we should power through these ones? See how many we can cover.
Maybe we might have to do 7 parts, depending.
7 parts of this one. Let's see
Oh,
how
we'll
we
see,
go.
we'll see.
Let's see what we got here.
Do you want to read
Okay,
this
let's
one?
skip
This is a
one,
very,
okay.
very nice one. Very interesting one.
This is maybe something I really like. The lizard conspiracy theory. I do love this one.
Yeah.
Okay. Also known as the reptilian conspiracy theory, it proposes that shape-shifting reptilian beings from another dimension or alien race have infiltrated positions of power on Earth. I've heard about this one my whole life. I absolutely love it.
Really?
Yeah. My whole life, the reptilian conspiracy theory. Basically, proponents of this theory claim that these reptilians who are believed to be extraterrestrial origins, or of extraterrestrial origin, disguise themselves as influential figures such as politicians, celebrities, and world leaders to manipulate and control humanity. So the idea with this reptilian theory is Ellen DeGeneres is a reptile, George Bush, Obama, Biden. All these people are actually reptilians. They're not human. If you cut them, they're gonna bleed blue blood. The queen, like the royal family, they're all reptilians. They're not humans. They're just here to control. And I like this one. Okay, so they argue that this theory often points to alleged reptilian symbolism and unusual behaviors as evidence of their presence among us. However, the lizard conspiracy theory lacks credible evidence and is widely dismissed as a baseless and unfounded speculation rooted in imaginative fiction and misunderstandings.
Dr. Salamander says that this is not true. No, look, lizard peoples aren't real. Look, I just read this article by Miss Salamander. Did I say salamander the first time?
Yeah, I think you did. It'd be
That's
like,
terrible.
no. And again, it was literally backed up. It was cited by George Echo.
Nice.
Okay. How many other reptiles can we? And Andrew Snake was actually also another person who said this is a bunch of nonsense.
Why would they be lizard people? Are they aliens? Is that the
Jeremy
vibe?
Lizard.
Yeah.
Yeah, anyway, it's kind
Jeremy
of died
Lizard.
out. I think I'm a bit silly. So they're actually lizard people. They're not humans. Everyone you know that's in a high power is actually a reptilian.
Did they come to Earth or they were on Earth? What's the idea?
I think the idea with reptilians, they've come to Earth. At a certain point, a reptilian came down, or these reptilian people came down and started getting into these positions of power. They're way more educated and far more knowledgeable, and they're not from Earth. They're from another planet, and they hold all the positions of power, and they give each other winks. There's like images of George Bush kind of like blinking, and his eyes will kind of become green and change color, almost reptilian-like.
What's their agenda? Just to maintain control?
Have control, and like they swing the
frail.
world.
They're frail. All these old, powerful people.
They probably have the appearance of that, but they're actually reptiles with like superpowers underneath.
Yeah, yeah.
And they don't actually die. And it's like the whole idea of a shapeshifter like takes the body of an old man or Michelle Obama, and it's like, hey, I'm here, Barack. How we going? Michelle Obama's one, Barack Obama's one. Then we go see Ellen. We hang out at her house. It's like, how's it all going? How are you guys going? We're going pretty good,
He's
aren't
like,
we?
oh no, but my Michelle. And she's like, oh, don't worry. I'm actually a female lizard. And he's like, no.
That's another good conspiracy theory.
So where are you going with this one? Because I don't.
The reptilian one is great because, again, I like it because you can't really poke any holes in it.
I've never seen it. That's the only thing. I don't have any evidence to.
But just that idea, they're reptilians. And
yeah.
I'm trying to think about... So they're reptilians. Are they kids reptilians as well? Like, is Sasha Obama reptilian? Or is she a human? And then she goes home to her reptilian parents. But she's got like a writing job on some comedy show on Netflix.
They're shapeshifters.
Yes.
Why wouldn't they choose better looking exteriors? That's a good one. That's a good one.
But I think it's pretty easy. It's the idea you want to come across as like natural. You want to come across as like, you don't want to stand out too much. It's like, hey, I'm going to do this Obama guy. I'm going to even come big ears.
The royal
Got a
family
weird stuff going on.
looks inbred.
Yes.
That's part of it.
part of it. Because they want to kind of be unsuspecting.
And they've also developed technology at the same time the rest of humans have. So they weren't advanced. They've got one superpower, which is shape-shifting.
They control. They can do so much more, but they're living on Earth. But then again, why aren't they going to progress technology or stuff like that? Maybe they're behind it all. I think Mark Zuckerberg is also a classic reptilian.
I wish the conspiracy was just Mark Zuckerberg is a reptile.
Yeah.
Because that would go into base.
I like the idea of Mark Zuckerberg saying, I'm a reptile in the bedroom with my wife. She'll agree. I'm a reptile.
I scuttle around and lay in the sun and...
Yeah, I can't actually understand it. I don't understand.
I don't know much about
what's Mark Zuckerberg doing as a reptilian? Yeah. Creating Facebook? Like, I can't really understand how it, like, progresses so slow.
That's what I'm saying, yeah.
Why not do, like, drastic things?
Yeah, he's a human that came up with Facebook.
Yeah,
and
they,
then
like,
slowly
fall.
grew.
All these people fall and become irrelevant and make mistakes. It's very human of them. I think it might be pure silly.
I think it might be pure silly.
Yeah, I think there might be pure silly one.
All right, we're going to go pure silly with the lizard people.
Oh, here's a good one.
Very similar to the Bigfoot one. The Loch Ness conspiracy is the next one we're going to talk about. And this theory revolves around the belief that the Loch Ness monster often refers to as Nessie.
I hate when people call it Nessie.
It's way too casual.
Yeah, they're so familiar with it. And it's like, hey, I saw Anyway, let's get going.
Often referred to as Nessie, is real, and that evidence of its existence is being suppressed or dismissed by various entities. Proponents of this theory argue that the Loch Ness monster is a prehistoric creature, possibly a surviving dinosaur or an unknown aquatic species inhabiting the depths of Loch Ness in Scotland. They claim that photographs, sonar readings, and eyewitness testimonies provide compelling evidence of Nessie's existence, and that the cover-up is orchestrated by the government, scientists, and tourist officials to protect their interests. Now,
this is exactly the same as Bigfoot, by the way.
No, there's giant squids.
Yeah, there's
a weird thing.
There's water snakes. Water snakes legitimately exist. Someone saw a water snake. It's like, what the hell is that? It's like, dude, it's a water snake. Be like, nah, what is that? It's like, dude, it's a water snake.
But it's in a lake.
Yeah.
So there's not giant squids in lakes.
There'll be like water snakes.
Maybe a dinosaur or some weird thing.
It's just some sort of water snake.
What? So where are you going with this? I could go probably base. This is probably true. 100%. They saw a big monster and they named it the Loch Ness Monster. They're not saying it. It's something they can't wrap their head around. It was a massive thing.
Yeah.
That they saw in Scotland. Oh, that kind of discredits. I think Scotland's about folklore and stuff like that.
Mm.
So I will give you that, but I think it's highly likely that there's a big creature out there in the water.
Okay. This is the only thing I have to say with this. It is the exact same thing as Bigfoot. There's no difference at all. They're both just people that saw a thing and were like, that's pretty weird. You'd be like, okay, yeah, it's pretty weird. But there's no conspiracy theory there. Someone saw like a water snake.
Moving on. Loch Ness is in B. Let's move on.
Yeah, we'll have to move on because there's no conspiracy theory for either of those. There's no government. The idea that the government's involved in either of those.
I don't like that.
It's impossible. The government isn't involved and be like, we've got to cover up this Loch Ness stuff. The government, that conversation has never once happened.
I'm a big fan of this next one, though.
Okay, let's go to this next one. I like this one. What do we got here?
The Mandela effect.
Oh, is this the Mandela effect or?
Yeah, you familiar with that one?
The Mandela effect is, I think, an idea of thinking something happened that it didn't.
Well, let's say
I guess, what is this whole Mandela?
So the Mandela effect conspiracy theory suggests that there are discrepancies between the collective memories and historical events, indicating the existence of alternative realities, time travel, or intentional manipulation. Proponents claim that many people remember specific events, details, or cultural references differently from its official historical record. The theory gets its name from the belief that numerous individuals vividly recall Nelson Mandela dying in prison during the 1980s, despite him being released in 1990 and becoming the president of South Africa.
Yep.
Supporters argue that these inconsistencies are evidence of alterations in the timeline caused by secret experiments, parallel dimensions, or hidden agendas. However, the Mandela effect is more likely explained by the... blah, 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 blah.
Okay, this is a great one. This is a really great one because it is It's just a classic example of people all believing the same thing. So the whole idea that like Muhammad Ali died like years ago before he actually died,
Yeah.
but he just didn't. It's the whole idea of like a story.
Yeah, it's like
Which has existed forever. There's this idea of Nelson Mandela. He stood for this. He got locked in prison and died. If you were to write a story about him, that's how it would have ended. He wouldn't have just kept on living. It's a better story for him to die in prison. And that's where like the Mandela effect keeps on coming around and around again, because people are so used to the idea of a story that when like you have this idea that that like people live happily ever after, or this William Wallace character dies and saves the country.
Yeah.
It's just rooted in storytelling.
And you're...
Which makes it pure silly. There's no conspiracy theory. There isn't some weird underlying thing. People just watch. They know stories.
Oh, but you're being too rational, and this happens. There are quite a few examples of it.
100%.
Which is the crazy part. The biggest one that got me when hearing about it, I'm like, whoa, that is kind of crazy.
Yeah.
Granted, I was in university and smoking a lot of weed at the time. But I was like, whoa, that is pretty crazy. And then Sex in the City.
Yeah.
I still don't even know what it is today. I think it's Sex and the City.
Oh, yeah. Interesting.
That one kind of got me. There was a couple other ones.
That's a really good one. I actually don't even know what it is. Is it Sex in the City?
Sex and the City.
And.
Yeah.
Oh, wow. That's
that's
really good.
That's a really good one. And yeah.
That's language, because obviously you would think
and
Sex in the City, but obviously they would have written it as Sex and the City. They did that purposefully. Like, it didn't go as smooth as it did.
But the idea of like parallel universes, it kind of branches off into a whole other thing where there has been like, yeah, I don't know. You're going pure silly for this.
Yeah.
I kind of like entertaining the idea. I find it entertaining.
It's great.
And there has also been evidence. I feel like you can talk to most people and they'll have one instance
100%
of this. And people get things wrong all the time, but when it's widespread like that, it's pretty nuts.
But it's all for a reason. There's no weird thing. It would be like, I'm trying to think of an example. Let's say that Kevin Rudd died or something like that, and everyone believed it. You'd be like, oh, that's really strange, because why would he possibly die?
He did. Correct, he did. We were talking about this last week.
But there's no reason for that. Or the Mandela stuff is always like, oh, I can see how that would be the case.
I can't go into pure silly for pure enjoyableness, but I'll go low
It's enjoyable.
C.
It's enjoyable.
I'll go low C.
Yeah.
Okay,
what do we got here?
up next. You want to read one?
Hey, let's give this fella a go.
So this is a space landing.
Oh, the space landing. Dang, this is one of my favorite, most annoying things. I went to go see Neil deGrasse Tyson. I wanted to ask him about this. This is something that I possibly believe in.
Actually, we might wrap this part here. I think this is part 5, and we'll finish off this list in part 6. So
that sounds good.
Thanks everyone for watching, and we'll be right back with the next part.